Hey everybody, Ron here. It's the long-awaited One Ring Strider Mode flip-through review that I promised a while ago. This is a great book. It's a 28-page PDF-only product, although I printed it out in booklet form, and it is a useful tool for both my solo role-playing in the One Ring, as well as my lore master duties for my group, which I started a Moria campaign recently, and I'm excited to delve into that a little bit more. We got this nice little green cover. Face the wilds alone. He is one of the wandering folk. Rangers, we call him. He seldom talks. Not but what he can tell a rare tale when he has a mind. He disappears for a month or a year, and then he pops up again. What his right name is, I've never heard, but he's known around here as Strider. And then we got this introductory section explaining what Strider mode is, including exploring Tolkien's world at your own pace, which is a nice thing. That's one nice thing about solo games, is that you can really go at your own pace. You can pick up, play for 10, 15, 20 minutes at a time, put it down and come back to it, as opposed to a RPG session where you're probably playing for a couple of hours, 2 to 6 hours, depending on your group and your play style. So that's nice. If you don't know what solo role playing is, it is very similar to standard group role playing, except you're by yourself. You have your pencil and paper and dice, or whatever tools you may use online. You're kind of doing all the things. Some folks like to actually talk out loud and like do the parts in a more performative fashion. Other folks like to do just a journaling type of thing. I'm more on the journaling side, but when I play solo role-playing games, every now and then I like to bust out minis and put up a action scene and play around with that stuff. But for the most part, it's just me, pen, paper, and dice, oftentimes on my computer, and just doing my thing here. But either way it goes, this is not an introductory to solo role-playing thing, but this is just a review of this book. And then it talks about how this works, that it's a supplement to the One Ring. The core Strider mode tables is the telling table, will help answer your simple questions, yes, no, maybe. And then the lower table will help you basically flesh out answers, kind of an oracle. It is an oracle type system. There's also a neat little fortune and ill fortune table. When you're rolling your skill rolls, you roll the Gandalf die or the Eye of Sauron. In the adventuring phase, it is just you. You cover all the rolls, so there are no rolls during the journeys. This is the section that deals with the journeys. Is one of the best things I like about the game. It's one of the most useful tools for the One Ring in general. We'll talk about that. The expanded journey events table, that is. And then finally they have a skirmish stance, which is explained later. The fellowship phase, there's a little difference. You could also use this as a co-op game. I haven't done it yet, but I'd like to someday, particularly when it's me and one of my other players, and that's it. So it talks about your adventurer here and how you're creating your adventurer. The only difference is you have more points to spend, 15 instead of 10. And then your fellowship score is 3 plus any additional bonuses from virtues and cultural blessings and whatnot. So there's no fellowship focus, of course, and it just talks about all this other stuff. But the new distinctive feature is Strider, and the Strider distinctive feature is useful when journeying. The player hero is considered inspired on skill roll, and they actually have a bunch of patrons, and each patron here has like a quest starter chart table which you can roll on and use these quests as ideas to springboard your adventures. The next few pages have these, and then this breaks down experience in milestones, since this is not your typical way to experience the One Ring role-playing game, where each game session you're earning 3 adventure points and 3 skill points. It has this neat little milestone chart where it gives you these little milestones and you get a reward commensurate with that. And so that way, you're not going to be playing a 2 or 3 hour session, or maybe you will. But for the most part, you can sit down and you crank something out in 15, 20 minutes, still get a reward, making it worth your while. Of course, you don't have to follow any of this. You could just give skill points and adventure points by feel, and that's the way that I've been doing solo role playing for, oh boy, well over a decade now. But this is a nice option too, particularly for this game. And then it talks about the action resolution system. If you folks are familiar with solo games, this is just a slightly expanded version of what they do in Mythic, where you have an action table on the focus table. You roll percentile dice. You basically get a couple of words here and interpret. Well, that system is basically here, except expanded, and it takes advantage of using the feat die versus success die. This is for you're rolling for a task, and then if you roll a Gandalf rune, then you get a fortune table. If you roll an Eye of Sauron, you roll on the ill fortune table, and that'll give you your special twist. For example, if I roll a Gandalf rune and hit the skill and say, okay, then I'm going to roll a separate feat die for that Gandalf rune. And I say I rolled a 5. And then on 5 says enemies front of final danger. So let's say that could be interpreted in many ways. Or if you don't find a way to make that make sense in the context of your narrative, just re-roll or just ignore it. All these things are options, folks. You have a special skill success table that also go along with this thing. You have some rules for using risk levels, visualizing and resolving a risky action. To be honest with you, I actually don't use the risk level stuff. I don't use the skill special success table. I know this might seem like blasphemy, but I rarely use the fortune and ill fortune table. Usually what I will use is coming up. The telling table here is if you're asking a yes/no question, this is where you're gonna, in Mythic, you might have a percentile dice in your roll. There's a percentage chance it's a yes, extreme yes, no, extreme no, right? So you got the same thing here, except you're just rolling the one feat die. You set your likelihood. Certain is 1 or greater, blah, blah, blah. Gandalf is always yes with extreme result or twist. Eye of Sauron is always no with extreme result or twist. I like this little block of advice here. Trust your gut. I've been solo role-playing far longer than the existence of the One Ring 2nd edition, so there's a lot that I do. I like to go with trusting my gut in a whole lot of situations, and then sometimes the dice will just come up with something better than what I come up with. Here, right here, the lore table. So when you're looking for the answers of questions, you need to flesh some things out more. You just roll a feat die, roll a success die to get an action. You could do that to get an aspect and a focus. Or any combination. You can look for an action as focus. You can look for aspect focus. You can look for action aspect focus. In Mythic, your tables are basically your action and your focus. And I think sometimes aspect and focus would be a better way to attack things when it comes to solo role playing and rolling on these charts. But I am so accustomed to the action focus thing that's what I default to. So let's say I rolled a 7 on my feat die. How about a 4? So my action would be refused. And then let's say I came back and I rolled a 4 and a 1. And I'm looking for an aspect, far-reaching. So I'm refused, far-reaching, and then like I roll a focus. Let's say I rolled a Eye of Sauron and a 6. War. So I'm refusing, far-reaching, war. That can mean a lot of things. This could be that like rejects or conflicts the greater conflict between the free peoples and the shadows. Of course, at this time, we're between the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings. So the Necromancer's been forced out of Mirkwood, and but he was always up to something, trying to rally minions and recruits discreetly, and there could be something that's connected to that. And then here we have how in the One Ring we have the eye rules. Well, this is using the Eye of Mordor rules in Strider mode, which I don't mess with. And then it talks about the adventuring phase. It explains the skirmish stance. Skirmish stance is, you have a ranged weapon. You can fight with a ranged weapon against melee attackers and do things like gain ground in skirmish stance. And it makes it easier for you to flee as well. But it explains some things about how to handle councils and journeys. So here we have a solo journey events table, starting with here with the main thing. We're going to roll a feat die, and then that's going to refer you to a sub table, which works like the basic journey events rules. Except here's the thing about these journey events. This is a little bit more detailed. So you have, unlike in the One Ring core book, this gets in a little bit more detail and it gives you a potential skill to give you an outcome. And I have found that this table here is far useful to me than the one in the core book. So when I'm running the game, the One Ring for my group, I use this table. The only challenge with this is that it doesn't assign a journey event to a specific role, but it gives you a skill to test for the outcome. And of course, since the roles are correspondent with the skills, basically tells you what roles would be attempting this task, like hunting, obviously hunter, right? But otherwise, the journey events are the same. This is fantastic, folks. I'm telling you, if for no other reason than to use the journey events tables in this PDF, get this. This is great. And then it talks about the fellowship phase. And then finally, the last 7 pages or so is just to collect the table. So I find myself really going to the last 6 or 7 pages of the book and consulting the tables. And that is it. You know, I rambled on a lot. I apologize for that, but thanks for sticking with me. Thanks for watching this. And until next time, see you later.